Hi, it's George Nordhaus, and welcome to Monday Morning. We got a shocker for you. You may have seen this somewhere along the way, but when I heard Google going into the insurance business, when I saw Steve Anderson's article on it in one of the magazines, I don't know which one, I about flipped because I began to realize what kind of an effect that's going to have on us, and said, who could I go to but Steve Anderson to do that? Well, that's his bag. Let me show you Steve's picture. You probably know Steve because he's been around the block 100 times, and he was an agent, and he's been a consultant for many years, and he lives up near Nashville, near the wonderful University of Vanderbilt. I can't imagine why I would say that. Yeah, I can't help but give a plug, Steve.
I know.
Yeah, and Steve's tech tips, if you don't get tech tips, you ought to, because every week that comes out and tells you, it keeps you right on top. I guess, Steve, you're about the, I don't know if anybody even in the neighborhood of a speaker on conventions and anything like that. I don't know anybody else really that does this, do they? To my knowledge, maybe you have some.
Well, certainly I think there's some other people out there, but George, as you said, I've been around a long time, so people know me.
Oh, yeah.
That does help.
And when I was looking for some stuff on you, I was looking for your phone number, which is always hard to find. I found I went in there and I saw that you have 168,000 followers on your, what's that, LinkedIn or web?
On LinkedIn.
Holy criminy. I don't know if anybody in the insurance business has anything like that. Do you use that as a marketing tool?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole big topic we could spend quite a bit of time talking about. I do believe LinkedIn is for insurance salespeople non-optional behavior. Unfortunately, most have no clue how to leverage that platform, and it's too bad because they're leaving money on the table.
Oh, I think you're right, and I'd love. Let's do that. Hold that thought. We're going to do another one on.
Okay.
We'll do another one also on. You had on signatures. Was it? No, it was.
Yeah, we did one on electronic signatures, and
That was a new one.
and I think some point we talked about doing something on agents accepting electronic payments. And
I think we should. Let's jump on that after a little while here. At any rate, as we went forward there, Steve and I began to talk, and we came to this conclusion. Then the next slide, I pointed this out to Steve, and I think I'm proud actually to send you something on it. I thought, what the heck is Google going to do on this thing when they come in? Where are they going to be on search engines? So I searched Seltzer Insurance. Bob Seltzer's a friend of mine over in Pennsylvania, and just to see on Google. And I looked down there, and I think this is the way it is with anybody. On any time you go in, you're Jones Insurance, you go into Google and you find yourself halfway down or below. Now, and you can see these cheap insurance and all stuff. Where is Seltzer? Where is Seltzer? Look down at the bottom. Look down. How far down is that going to be when Google comes in the insurance business? What do you think, Steve? Think it'll be up there or not?
Well, George, yeah, you certainly have kind of hit the nail on the head, and actually some very good reporting from an analyst at Forrester first wrote an article on finding some people at Google actually getting insurance licenses, and all of the kind of the information that's come up over the last probably 10 days or so. And the question is, what can agents do about it? And that's, as you indicated, I was called by an editor at Property Casualty 360 asking my opinion. And that's the comments that you read in their kind of first take or first article on a response. And really the question is, should agents be concerned? And I think the answer to that is absolutely. And I do believe as the industry, as independent agents that are out here competing online, we've got to think differently, and that's a little bit of what I want to talk about. Certainly Google is the kind of the name right now, but frankly, George, I'm just waiting for Amazon to announce something. I'm just waiting. We already have Walmart announcing something.
Yep.
I mean, the issue is there is some big money in our industry, and frankly, we've been fairly insulated from that. And I think those days are over. And we have got to, as agents, and here's where I'm, perhaps maybe I think you had Chris Barand. He and I agree on some things. Agents right now are just lazy. They're order takers, and that's not going to be successful in the future. And so we've got to think differently about what we need to do as agents. And so, I think one of the important things to look at, certainly with Google, is, where are they making their money? And so I put together some information here just to kind of help us understand maybe a little bit of the background of why this is happening. Well, actually, 97% of Google's revenue comes from advertising dollars. And that is, as you indicated on that search page, that results page, that's where people click, and advertisers are willing to pay money. And so I'll put all of these up here so we kind of have the reference point, but in terms of the cost of advertising on Google, insurance terms are the most expensive terms out there. And in fact, and it represents 24% of the revenue that Google gets off of their advertising comes from insurance. And that's certainly the Geicos and the Progressives and the Esurance and really a whole large number of organizations there that pay for that positioning on that search results page.
That's
now, most
amazing.
People are shocked.
I'm shocked
when I tell them that, back to that search results page. So if it's Geico or Progressive,
yeah.
People are normally shocked when I tell them how much a click costs. So if you get that search results page and you click on one of those links, average cost for an insurance term is $54.91.
What do you mean?
Just for the click.
Just who pays that?
That's
Progressive or?
That Progressive, Geico, Esurance, they are paying that kind of money to get somebody's attention and get that click onto a landing page. And again, George, there's a whole lot that goes involved in how that works and how agents can kind of compete in that particular area. But frankly, my comment that was quoted in that article was insurance agents cannot out-Google Google. They can't compete.
No way.
Right?
Oh, absolutely, no way.
But what they can do is they can out-local Google.
I like that.
And I think that's where we need to kind of keep our perspective in mind. That, yeah, Google is a big player out there, and you know what? Geico's a big player, and Progressive's a big player, and Esurance is a big player. But the local independent agent does have that local piece of it that is very difficult for some of those organizations to do. But frankly, that doesn't mean as agents we can just sit back and not do anything. Well, are we asking the right question? And this is from Seth Godin, who is a marketer, written a number of books. You may not or have heard of him or not, but I love this quote of his. The question that gets asked about technology, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a technology company coming into the insurance industry. And I think that the mindset here is they're a technology company that happens to sell insurance. Most agents think of themselves as insurance agents who happen to use technology, and oftentimes not very well. But what he says, the wrong question is, how does this advance help our business? When he says the correct question is, how does this advance undermine our business model and require us or enable us to build a new one?
Oh, that's
a way different way to think.
Perfect. I mean, it's exactly what we're talking about here. It's exactly what I'm
really
building my future on that. That exact thing. We have to build a new one. Yeah.
And here's my corollary. Do you think the taxi and limo companies thought technology that Uber has brought to the
never
to the business was going to completely disrupt them? Why do you think there's so many fights going on right now? Because they are being disrupted. And by the way, in my opinion, the taxi companies have lost the fight already. Now, there will be a lot of skirmishes and a lot of things going on and what happens over the next few years. But that's an example of technology completely disrupting and undermining a current business model.
Another one, Steve,
I don't think insurance.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish.
I was going to say, I don't think insurance is that far far off.
Well, what about Airbnb? You know, where you take the B&Bs,
Sure.
you go. There's another one it's going to affect the hotel industry. Maybe not as much.
It already is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it already is. Actually, Airbnb actually has more hotel rooms than all of the hotel companies combined right now.
I didn't know that either. Oh my God.
And it's interesting talking to younger people who honestly hardly even consider booking a hotel room anymore. They're always going on Airbnb. And again, that's a whole nother big topic of discussion, this idea of the trust economy, the sharing economy, a couple of different names there, but that is certainly disrupting, disrupting a lot of things. So we've got to make sure we ask the right questions and think about what we need to do. In fact, an example of that is an agency owner, a 200-person agency, multiple location up in the upper Midwest, and the CEO of the company, he and I were talking, and he says, we need to be a technology company that happens to sell insurance, and that is where he is trying to drive his organization. And his problem is he's got staff there that have been doing the same thing for so long. He has a hard time getting them to move forward. And again, these are issues that we need to address.
Good.
Well, let me give a little bit of perhaps hope here, or at least some ideas. So it's what I call keys to profitability, and it's a balanced approach. And this to me is really key, which is fixing follow-up failure. And I'm going to have a little bit more to say about that because I think this is a key area. But you know what, George, you've read all the stuff, and articles will be coming out now with the Google and the Walmart, and the articles will be saying, well, independent agents add value to the consumers that they deal with. And I ask, what value do independent agents add? I mean, what is it that they're providing that somebody can't get someplace else? And are we providing value the way the consumer defines value or the way we want to define value? And I think that's a big disconnect right now. Do we really provide value? Can somebody pay their insurance premium on a website or on their mobile device? Why do I have to call somebody? And this is the follow-up failure. Why aren't agents being more proactive in their communication with clients? And so a whole bunch of issues there. High tech, high touch, big issue here. And creating processes and systems, and this kind of goes back to that idea of agents being order takers, sitting back and waiting for people to come. And frankly, that's been very successful for a very long period of time. But I'm wondering how that's actually changing and how agents are going to change. And there are no easy fixes here. It's a commitment to the long haul and constant attention. You know, the days of, okay, let's do a marketing program for this next week, and then we kind of sit back and maybe 3 or 4 months later we'll think of something else. No. Commitment to the long haul and constant attention to, are we providing the value that we think we are, or are we providing it in the way our customers want? Consumers are changing faster than they ever have before. And I use the word consumer meaning personal and business. People buy insurance regardless of who they're buying it for, their own individual stuff or their businesses. Well, let me hone in for a minute on the fixing your follow-up failure. This is a real message of mine. And it's not really that popular, frankly, among agents.
I may see why.
This is a series of results of a survey from ComScore. I know you know the name, George. ComScore is a company whose business is tracking internet activity, and they asked for personal auto insurance. Again, very specifically, they asked consumers, how often do you interact with your agent? And how often, so for 3 different areas, how often do you meet with them in person, how often do you speak with them, and how often do you receive communication? Well, frankly, I think meet in person for personal lines, personal auto, agents can't do that, and that's okay. But if you look here, 54% said rarely and 26% said never. So if we're not going to meet with them in person, then are we speaking to them on the phone or are they receiving communications? Well, according to ComScore, the numbers aren't that much different. So how often do you speak with your agent? 63% said rarely, 10% said never. 73%
Wow.
are rarely or never. and we talk about adding value to the relationship, and I'm asking where. Now again, agents listening to this, I know they're going to get pushback, and yes, we do, but frankly, I've been in a lot of agencies, George, as you have, and I just don't believe it. It's a reactive service. It's not a proactive service. And this last one to me is, I mean, really? How often do you receive communication? In this day and age where technology allows you to do email newsletters and all kinds of stuff, 39% said rarely, 20% said never. So 59%, almost 60% of customers said they don't even receive communication from their agent.
I can't believe that. I mean,
so
it's
I know. I mean, and so when I talk about follow-up failure, that's what I'm talking about. Are agents sending out annual account renewals? And by the way, if something as simply as an online survey could work, why aren't we doing things like that? So the whole idea here of fixing follow-up failure, what do you do when there's not an opportunity now? Now that's new business. So you talk to somebody and they say, no, I'm not ready to buy. And what most agents do, by the way, most producers do, is they maybe put them in their management system, or maybe they have an ACT or some database, and they put a reminder for 90 days prior to the expiration date, a year from now. Well, what good is that? What are you doing to build a relationship between now and that time when you're ready to contact them again? Email newsletters, absolutely a believer in it. Having touches with people on a consistent and ongoing basis. Defining the communication process. What do agents do right now when they bring a new client in? You know, it's kind of in the tech industry, it's called onboarding. What are you doing to bring that customer into your organization and making sure that you are communicating everything that you do? I have a process that I talk about, which is how do you have a new customer welcome process? What does that look like? Well, for most people, it's, well, we send a letter out thanking you for doing business with us. In my case, it's, let's have 9 touches over the next 90 days. And one of those might be, yeah, thanks for doing business with us. And then a week or 10 days later, it might be a, hey, you made a great decision coming with our agency. Because you see, people, when they make a buying decision, often have buyer's remorse. Did I do the right thing? Should I have gone with this other agency? Why did I do this? I wonder if they're going to take care of me. Well, let's address it right up front. You made a great decision coming with us. Here's why. And maybe another 2 weeks later, there's another communication. And it could be a phone call. It could be an email. It could be an actual physical letter that's sent out that says, by the way, we wanted to make sure you understood that, yes, we wrote your auto and homeowners, but, you know, we have all this other things that we can help you with. Are your medical insurance covered? Do you have enough life insurance? And so what are we doing to actually build that relationship and build value? And certainly for me, George, as you know, I've been in the technology side of things. You've got to systemize the process. You've got to create a way for this to happen without staff having to initiate it. And so that's campaign management, marketing automation, right? All of the tools that are out there today to actually help people make that move and make sure that those contacts are actually going on and happening. And then finally, it's managed by internal staff, meaning you turn over the responsibilities for making sure this happens to agency staff. And so, you know, we look at Google and obviously consternation and frankly, much of it is deserved. Google sees a lot of money in insurance. Now, are they going to be able to compete? Are they going to be able to tap into that? I don't know. But here's what I do know, and I've been asked this question a couple of times fairly recently. You know, how can the insurance industry innovate? How can we do things differently? And frankly, George, and I won't say it for you, but for me, I've been in this industry way too long. I can't hardly think outside of what my experience has been. But guess what? I bet those people at Google, they don't know what they don't know about the insurance industry, and that may be to their advantage. They don't know it can't be done. when we go, well, here's all the reasons why that won't work. And so it's not surprising to me at all that Google's there. And as I said when I first started, I'm just waiting for Amazon. I'm just waiting for somebody else completely outside the industry to see the advantage, the possibilities, the growth, and come in. And we're seeing all kinds of little examples of that in small commercial and certainly the personal lines and the online and using technology to get numbers and quotes. And we're just seeing all kinds of things like that out there. And here, I'll stop after this thought, and you can ask any questions you want.
All right.
Is there any, so I have to make an assumption that people know about Kickstarter. If you don't, Kickstarter is again, a new way to fund startups and fund new projects. I've been involved personally with about 25 Kickstarter projects.
Wow.
Frankly, because I want to understand the platform and how it works. But in my mind, there's no reason why somebody couldn't kickstart an insurance company. Raise funds, have enough capital. Now, and again, by the way, I go to all the reasons why that won't work. 50 state District of Columbia regulation and all the capital requirements and all that. How can that work? Guess what? Somebody who doesn't know, who knows what could happen. I go back to Uber as my example. Do you think Uber, when they first started, thought they were going to completely disrupt? No. All Uber has done is create a communication platform between people who drive and people who need a ride. That's all that they've done, but they are completely changing an industry as they do that. And as you indicated, Airbnb, and we've got lots of, it's happening in boats and pleasure craft. It's happening in loaning tools to people from neighbors to neighbors. It's happening in all kinds of different places. So yes, pay attention to what Google's doing. Pay attention. But start working on what you can do to build that local relationship even more than you already have. I
thought your words "out local Google" were just fabulous. I'm going to quote you all over. I love that. That's really what makes a difference. Another thing.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead.
No. I mean, it really is. Yes, we need to be concerned, but the local agent is in a community. And the agents that I look at, that I see that are successful, even in the online digital marketing world, are focusing on local interaction, community development, being out there and helping within the community. And I tell you what, Geico still has that problem. Progressive Direct still has that problem. Esurance has that problem. Do people always want the lowest price? No. But they want to make sure they're getting the best price.
The best,
right. The best
deal.
The best deal, right? The best value
whatever.
In terms of what they think.
Well, this is great. Last week's Monday Morning with Chris Brand, where he talked about checklist. He's talking about more commercial lines in general, but between that one and this one you've just done here, Steve, for me, it's just wonderful. I think I want to get this in the hands of every doggone agent in the country. I'm certainly going to send it to every association executive and let them understand what's going on. I'm going to use it in my future activities in high touch and thing on called INA. You're going to be hearing about INA Connect, which is formalizing this whole system. Yeah, it's going to be great. I think it's just wonderful, and they do that. And another thing, next week, I think it might be the week after, I've contacted IBM to do one of these Monday mornings on Watson, the computer. How about that, Steve? You understand? You see where I'm going with that one?
Sure, of course. When Watson can actually compete effectively on Jeopardy and win by processing vast amounts of information and coming up with an answer, why do we need an agent to help somebody actually understand the insurance coverages? Why do we need underwriters at an insurance company? And again, people will go, oh, wait a minute, a computer can't do that. Really? Have you watched the Watson and what it's doing now, and how Watson's getting into medical diagnostics, so helping doctors actually be able to go through vast amounts of information and see connections that a doctor would never be able to see?
Amazing.
Oh, it's a changing world.
It is a changing world. Listen, thank you very much. This is just great. People want to contact you. They can go to your link right there and contact you. There's 100 ways. You go to steveanderson.com on Google and you see all kinds of entries. It's a beautiful thing. Steve, listen, I want to thank you. I think you've opened up so many eyes, and I think this is vitally important. And we'll see everybody else next Monday morning. But once again, Steve, my gratitude to you and Chris and people
Great.
of your ilk.
Well, yeah, and George, I thank you for having me. And that I will make one slight plug before we end.
Go ahead.
People may not know, but I have just started a podcast called Glad You Asked, which is a way for agents to send me questions and then have me answer their questions on a recording. Right now, it's coming out every week on Monday morning, so.
Well, look,
if people are interested in, you can download it on iTunes, on Stitcher for Android devices, and if they go to gladyouasked.steveanderson.com, they can see a couple of the recent episodes that have come out already.
I love it, and listen, I'm going to, if you give me that information, write out that information for me, I'll put it on the email that takes this Monday morning out. I'll put the application on there.
All right, sounds great.
Okay, thanks again. Bye. See the rest of you next Monday morning.